All right, there we go. I think we're good.
All right, hello, Internet. It's time for another graphic novel club with my good friend Reedham Steven. He he sent me on the quest to go through For Tomorrow of Superman. I have the old two version trade. He got the one combined trade, which makes more sense because it's not that
Yeah.
much. So, yeah, why don't you lead us off?
All right. So I kind of want to ask you a question first. Like, were did you hear about like Superman for Tomorrow during your, while you were collecting comics in this time? Like, because it came
Um,
out. I forgot what year it came out, but were you like collecting comics at that time, and did you like hear about it or whatever? Or?
I mean, there's no way I picked up the issues at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I like heard about it, but I wasn't too impressed. And at that point, I was only getting two comics a month, so it was
Hmm.
kind of, and it was a little bit before I started reading DC at all because I really came into DC when Infinite Crisis started, and then I started picking up like slowly a little bit more. But this wasn't this was something that I heard about, but like mostly in ads and stuff, and came back to it years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, because I tried to look up, the internet, tried to look up some articles, maybe see like how it was, hyped or whatever. Was it like hyped like Hush or whatever? But I couldn't find nothing. It was kind of like one of those stories that kind of, I don't know, it just,
It wasn't on the level of Hush as far as hype.
uh-huh.
A big part of what Hush did to promote itself, and actually even past the day of it, was there are all these beautiful posters with like the covers amalgamated. So it was like the entire back cast. Like there's like a good side and kind of an evil side across two stretched out posters, and there's just all this art and all this character stuff. And to this day, if you look up references for like the Joker or the Riddler or stuff, there's a good chance you're going to see a cover or a picture from Hush in that chunk
Hmm.
because it went through so many characters, which as we dig through this, there's a lot of reasons to compare it to Hush for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
but it's so not Hush in so many ways.
Yeah. Like, so I read For Tomorrow, like, I remember reading it before I started picking up comics. Like, I know I randomly went to the library one time and I picked this up because I just kind of wandered around and I found Superman comic and I found this and I was kind of interested just reading the back and stuff and them saying it's a modern classic. So I was like, well, why not why not read this? And first time I remember I really enjoyed it, but kind of going back into it, and I actually reread it again after I read it. Like I read it a couple days ago, and I reread it and kind of retraced the steps because this comic for 12 issues started really kind of slow for me, and it was kind of jumpy at points to where towards the end it kind of got lost till that like final two or three issues where they kind of just settled everything. But you could kind of rereading it again could kind of I could see where they're going, but it was just like poorly executed in my opinion. Just reading it again.
So I can't dance around this for like an hour or whatever since we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about it. I hate this. I hate this so much. Uh,
All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's
well,
go.
so the biggest thing for me is reading through this. It became very apparent to me every criticism I ever heard about Jim Lee jumped out at me. Um,
Mhm.
he is, and here's the thing: I get it. Like looking through these pages, like if you take any image on its own,
Yeah.
except for maybe the I forget what they called the big monstro guy, Lazar.
Oh, Equus or something. Wait, or
Oh wait,
that one that was hired to
Yeah, the big weird monster guy that has like next to no story about him. Which
Yeah, yeah, the guy with the sunglasses, Iquus or something. Yeah.
yeah. Every image that Jim Lee renders is gorgeous. He's a great figure artist. He does a lot of great stuff. And if you compare his art, like here, where he's taking advantage of all the advantages of digital versus whatever, there's a lot of stuff he does, and it's great in that respect. But as far as being a comic book artist, he doesn't know how to tell the story with his images. And there was one frame in particular that really stood out to me, and it was when he was fighting that guy, and then you see flat in line with his foot, Superman like sweeps, and there's like this dust cloud. And the enemy asks him, "What are you doing?" Which my thought was, that's a great question. What is he doing? Because I can't see it.
Yeah.
And then without moving the panel, because the next panel is just his face, and they never come back to this, Superman says, "I'm drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Like, you come no further." And I'm like, oh, that would be a cool moment if I could see it. Show, don't tell, literally. And this is a comic book, and
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. There are some panels where he just was like still, like he takes some like homages to like certain covers and puts it in panels. Like there was this I forgot. They did he did a homage cover to like a pose to Superman 1, something like that.
Kind of
yeah, like that, in just in a random panel, and I was like, oh, all right.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember in the comic reading it, but I sat there for a second because I'm like, oh, that's that Superman cover, and I looked at it, I'm like, that's a really awesome drawing, but it just doesn't...
It's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also... How did you feel about the religious overtones of this book? Like, it was very... Like, I like, okay, like, first time I read it, it was okay, but kind of understanding it now, and it was kind of in your face to some reason, like, for me.
80% of the comic being Superman talking to a, what was it?
A priest.
A priest.
Oh, yeah, a priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got...
They don't set it up, either. That's what kills me. The comic starts with Superman talking to this guy, and, like, supposedly confessing... Superman's not Catholic, or never has been to my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was out of nowhere. Like, if this was a Daredevil comic, it would make a lot more sense if we were starting here and working through that.
Yeah, it just got really, like, throughout the comic, it got really, like... I don't know, it just really got to the point where I was like... Well, they're just trying to say something like something religious or something.
Well, now that you say that, I'm stepping back at it, it makes a sense in that if you're trying to go for the theming of Superman is a god among men, but they're trying to humanize him, like, that was part of the idea, because there's the one character who keeps saying, like, now you seem more human to me, like, now you're... And it was that, and I'm like, that makes a sense thematically, like, if you're going to build it correctly, but they don't do that, really. Like, it's supposed to be there, but it's not, like, in the text.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this first half basically was just him talking to the priest most of the time, and I was starting to forget this vanishing thing, you know, this little device that, you know, that they alluded to, like, in the first couple issues, and then it's not till towards the end where I'm just like, oh, we're back to this vanishing thing, and I still don't know who actually... you know, did the first one, and it took all the way to the last issue to where everything just tied in together.
So because you can't figure it out until you get there. But so when they start, there's the whole vanishing thing, and a million people are gone, but Lois, the like primary thing, which kind of killed me because every great Superman comic I've read, Superman loves Lois, yes. But he's a man of the people. Like, if a million people are gone, he's saddened by that. And if Lois, yeah, I mean, Lois, that would be like a human attachment to him, but he wouldn't have this weird, like throughout this comic, they make a point that it's a vendetta about getting Lois back and all that, and his need for her. And then the other, 900,900, like,
Forget him.
Yeah, which to me is like the antithesis of what Superman is.
Yeah.
On any level, and for them to, it just made no sense to me. And you didn't have this because you didn't read these as two separate physical identities.
Yeah.
But this first part, you can almost just toss, and then the second part will be a little lost coming into it. But frankly, you start off, because it breaks off here with, it's starting off with the comic issue where Wonder Woman fights Superman because Superman's going to commit suicide in her eyes by trying to rescue these people.
Yeah.
Like, so if we were in any other realm of fiction with any other characters, I could almost get this. Like, I get the idea of it. Like, you matter to me, and it's not like a romantic thing really on any level.
Mm-hmm.
It's two colleagues, essentially, and they risk their lives, like cops or something. But this is some weird sci-fi BS, and they're going to do that. The thing is, it's Superman. Weird sci-fi BS where he could never come back from whatever realm is Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true.
What were they thinking?
I kind of wish the Justice League was a lot more involved in this, other than just Wonder Woman, like that guy, like with Martian Manhunter. Like, I thought, I thought Martian Manhunter, that conversation that he had with Superman, would kind of play a bigger part, because he kind of just, he brought him back to, he kind of just told him that you can't do this and all that stuff. So, it so happened to be Wonder Woman. Like, I know that kind of connected to where that character Halicon, the one with the hooded stuff, that hooded lady, and that's that's
not Pandora, but
that's exactly. I was like, man, that might have been Pandora.
Yeah, coming back at it later, you're like, but it's not. I didn't know who she was. Like, she's almost not relevant to the plot. No. They make a point about her, and she's part of an issue cliffhanger at some point.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman comes by, and then she's like, cry on my shoulder, and then the next issue, she's like, you're a jerk. And I'm like, what is going on? Who is this person? Like,
I know no backstory at all. Like, you get, like, you dedicate final panels of issues to her, but you don't explain any of that stuff.
Well, it was doubly confusing for me, too, because Jim Lee doesn't know how to draw women's faces. I mean, he knows how to draw a woman's face very well, but I couldn't tell you that lady versus Wonder Woman versus Lois apart, which is really confusing later.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the same face, pretty nearly, and so... Except Wonder Woman has the tiara, at least, so that helped.
And the skirt? Like, she had, like, a skirt.
Yeah, she has the skirt going, which was...
I was like, you're in freaking the Fortress of Solitude. You weren't, okay, I guess.
Yeah, no, that was bizarre.
Another example of, like, the wonkiness of it. Remember when he went down to see Aquaman, and then it went straight to Halicon, who summoned these elementals, I guess.
In Aquaman, they have a silent exchange with Aquaman for the most part, which was. Yeah.
So, that was completely, that just, jumped from that to him fighting the elementals, and, I think he says he blames or he thinks Aquaman's behind all this or whatever, but I'm just like...
He's not Namor, he's Aquaman, it was super thing.
I know, you can summon animals, not elemental people.
Well, it was kind of funny, too, because to me it was just to pull outside for a minute, it was very similar to that most recent issue of Batman and Robin, where, Robin has that exchange with Batman, with the superpowers and whatnot, and that was handled in a way that, addressed the nobility. It was handled in, 2 pages in a way that just was okay, I get it, that's cool. And then this one, I was like, what's going on? Why is he blaming Aquaman? Why doesn't he take Aquaman? These people weren't near the ocean when this happened. They make a very clear point they were, in a city.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that
Well,
was,
I don't know if it's technically a coastal city or not because the DC geography's.
yeah, yeah.
Because
But
where's Metropolis? Is Metropolis supposed to be inland? Do you know that?
I have no idea. I always thought, I don't know, Metropolis and Gotham are kind of like across the. I don't know. I always thought they were so close, so I'm kind of picturing them like separated by a bridge or something. I don't know.
I don't think they're that close because like Bloodhaven's like that close to Gotham, and then Metropolis is like a different city, like Coast City or Central or any of that.
Yeah.
I always thought Metropolis was in Kansas because of the whole Smallville thing.
Oh, yeah. They just make a map. Just give us some
Well,
clarification.
there's a map out there somewhere. I haven't seen where Metropolis was, but someone zoomed in for me, and Gotham's in New Jersey, like right on the coast. And I don't know.
That makes sense.
Sorry, that's my favorite factoid. But I wanted to go back to the Justice League thing because that was one of the few things that they did actually try to explain. Was why Superman was doing this and Justice League was involved in it. What I could gather from the conversation snippet they give you, because it was Lois gone, like he needed to do this and he was handling it personally, and there's all these other problems. He wanted the League to deal with that while he was dealing with this personal thing, which seemed odd because usually the League like jumps in and helps with this sort of thing. Like that's the whole point of the Justice League, right?
Yeah, I kind of found it just like. Kind of found it weird, like you said, like why not extend the help? Like, hey, just whatever you need, we'll be there. But I guess like, I mean, for the weight that Superman had to bear involving, what he did, when we learn towards the end of what he did, and just kind of carrying that, I guess you can make a case. He didn't want anyone involved because he just didn't want people to know what he did, or just, because.
But he didn't know he did it until the end, which was.
That is true. That is true.
Like that was such a mind trip. So to completely spoil the ending here, the vending machine weapon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
God, how do you unpack this? So. And they don't get to this till like the last 2 issues. So all the interesting, cool stuff they try to cover in 2 issues, and it's completely rushed after essentially wasting 6 issues up front.
Yeah.
So, then help me out if I get any of this wrong, because I read like 3 summaries trying to piece this together, and even
that
nobody had the whole story by themselves. So, Superman created a sort of utopia parallel to the Phantom Zone machine to kind of create a heavenist thing as opposed to a jail. And he said it, but after he created it, he forced himself to forget it.
Yeah.
But then it would have been the Fortress of Solitude anyways, but unexplained anywhere in the story. Somehow it ends up somewhere else. They never, they literally never cover that part, which would seem the villainous intent thing. And that captures a whole bunch of people, and then it ends up in someone else's hands, who's this warlord who he's talking to throughout the comic, who threatens to use it, and then it does get set off a second time by the big, monstrous nobody who, near as I can tell, has never been seen before or again since this comic. So
Zod was basically they say that Zod is the one who first started it. Like he had the orb or something. He looked at it, or he touched it, and it set off this whole thing. I guess.
But he was able to climb from the Phantom Zone to this heaven reality within the connection because of his tie to Superman and his power of hate, I guess, because they made a big deal about how much he hated things.
I mean, I don't think they explained. Like, he just showed up. Like, he just, like, when he first appeared, I was like, I know we're in the Phantom Zone. Like, how did he get there? Like,
but it's not the Phantom Zone. It's, like, based off the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, it's based off it.
But, yeah, but it's not and so he, like, crawled through the barrier, through the hate, and then destroyed everything. Meanwhile, all the people in Utopian seem to have forgotten about reality, I guess.
Yeah.
And Lois is just hanging out in a white
In a tree. On a
toga,
tree.
plucking peaches. I swore she was Wonder Woman that first panel until they're like, it's Lois. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
And then the one thing that I really didn't like was when Superman, as soon as he got back, they basically did it. And then Jim Lee shows the panel where they're like,
oh, well,
yeah,
that panel really pissed me the hell off because so much about the Lois Superman relationship that's made it so iconic for, nearly a century. So it's not like this is news. Is the fact that Lois Lane is this strong, independent woman that, Superman pulls her fat out of the fire, but she's, like, risking her life for the story. She's a strong-willed person. She's her own character in so many rights. And in this, she's woman.
Yeah.
And he's man. And I feel like I'm a man, because it was just...
Did she not know that my first question, if I'm Lois, I'm just like, why am I, get me out of here? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, for, the Pulitzer-winning report, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, the Pulitzer-winning reporter would probably find paradise to be hell. Like,
yeah.
That almost is a more interesting story right there than half what this is.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's all this stuff at the end, like the idea of the Phantom Zone parallel, which I thought was an interesting idea. The whole fight out. And then there was the Preacher turned into another monster thing.
Yeah, I really didn't like that. Like, they set him up, they dedicated all this, all this time to building him up through these issues, and they kind of I kind of wished he, I don't know.
Amounted to something?
Yeah, it's just like... And then that other mercenary guy, he just ends up like, I don't know much about him. We're teased throughout issues.
The mustache guy.
Yeah. And
he was kind of the missing link between, like, the rogue government and, like, other sides of the story, I guess, to kind of have the outside connection while Superman's lost in this weirdo reality, to have, like, them needing him back in the main reality because weird stuff was going on, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was interesting at first, and then he's talking to Wonder Woman and then the other lady, and he just is like, don't get your panties in a twist. It was just being, like, bizarrely overly misogynistic.
Dude, I was like, I don't understand why Wonder Woman just didn't stab or something. Like, they're just like, do something. Like,
even the most peaceful interpretations of Wonder Woman would have stabbed that guy.
Seriously.
Mother Teresa would have stabbed that guy. Like,
yeah, it was pretty bad. I was like, really? You're just gonna stand there and just take the criticism?
Well, it's bizarre too, because in the back of my head, I'm going, Azzarello's writing this? He just finished that Wonder Woman. Did he write in the intervening years? What happened?
Maybe this was it. Maybe he's like, you know what? Maybe secretly he's like, I didn't like the story I just did, so I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna dedicate, like,
Oh, and we haven't even talked about the Batman pages.
Oh yeah, that was I don't know. I was like, what he said, like, he told Batman, like, you need to be better or something like that, or.
Yeah, he's like, I need you to be better. What's really weird, though, is you start off, and then there's just Joker throwing some chick off a building, and, like, Superman swoops in and saves the day, and then they have this bizarre heart-to-heart, and it's all in, like, 5 pages, and it's like...
Oh, true.
This random, like, Batman-Superman moment for no reason.
Oh, yeah, Batman automatically just randomly takes off his cowl.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
Like you do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's...
He's not trying to hide his identity or anything.
Yeah, I know. So.
Well, and he does it right after Superman's like, Bruce is just a mask. And it's that whole, like, Batman's the real identity thing. I'm like, like, I get the idea. It could be a fun idea to explore in a Batman comic.
it just seems so like just way out there. Seems so forced. Like I don't
So
know.
my theory on that is, I don't know if you read any of the notes on stuff or if they have in your trade.
I don't think there is any.
Oh well, that copy's a ripoff.
Thank God I didn't pay $25 for it.
Jeez, man. There's these sketchbook notes in the one I have, and it's Jim Lee talking about how hard it is for him to draw Superman versus Batman. And there's all these notes where he's like, we're drawing Superman versus, like, for instance, Batman. As, like, it could have been like, oh, as opposed to, like, Aquaman or Flash. Like, no, what are you talking about? So he's just, like, focusing on Batman, and then, like, in here it's, like, still too close to Bruce when he's drawing Superman's face. It's just clear, like, he was just trying to, like, adapt his Batman slowly away and, like, throw the Superman on it.
Oh my
And it's
gosh,
just... It's so funny because he has a face here with the cape at like just a neck thing, but it's totally like Batman's face with like the Superman cape coming down, and
what?
it looks weird because that's how he had to do it, I guess.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, to be fair, the guy was sketching and eventually got there. Like, I'm sure that's part of the artist process. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you can see, like, the fact that he's like, oh, I really just want to be doing Batman again. Azrael probably just threw in some pages for that. And then, more on the background stuff, they have the whole, like, intro thing written by Azzarello, which is normally, like, these notes, like, how, you know, the story came about and all this stuff. But for this one was, like, Jim Lee called me up and was like, you're writing Superman. And Azzarello's like, okay. And then it's, like, all this talk about, like, them being at a casino, and then, like, the food they ate, and then nothing about, like, well, when I sat down to write Superman, I was trying to apply these thoughts. It was literally, like, him, the closest they got to that was, like, him calling his handler and being like, I'm writing Superman for the next year.
Let's do something.
Work that out.
I know.
That's what the book feels like when you finish reading.
Yeah, it does. It feels like a whole bunch of ideas just thrown together, like just barely hanging on by some sort of thread to this one story.
Well, and there's so many transitions. I couldn't find it right now, but there was one part in here when they're in the Paradise situation where Superman first finds Lois again, and they're literally like in a forest, you know, nature area, and then Superman's saying one thing, and then the balloon carries over to like finish his sentence, and then all of a sudden they're in the bedroom, like the scene shifted.
Yeah.
Well, and I felt like that was an intentional thing to show like this was some sort of like dream heavenly scenario. But the problem was earlier in the book there was all these times where like they'd be talking, they'd be mid conversation or something, but like the scenery changed around them.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so weirdly laid out like that. I don't know.
I mean, you would think that, you know, with a team like Azzarello and Lee, they would, you know, beyond, you know, being called and just saying, hey, I got Superman's like, hey, this is gonna be, you know, let's put our best foot forward here. Like, I feel like they didn't. There was, I don't know. Like, I was kind of disappointed, you know, just reading it again, and just kind of trying to find, like, rereading this after I read it just to see if I could like piece anything together with those first couple issues, because I would feel bad if I was reading this monthly and just kind of just like not get anything till like, you know, maybe issue 8, 9, and 10, and all the way up to the last issue, and just kind of.
Oh, I would have dropped it, no question.
Yeah. See, I put myself in a reader who picked this up monthly, and I'd just be like, yeah, I would have dropped it too, because there was really nothing holding on for the first couple issues. I mean, as you said, you can end it right off the first volume and just kind of just be done with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird that way. Try to think. Because it's weird, like, for 12 issues, like, really, like, there's kind of the weird setup amalgamation stuff over a while with a few brief highlights, and then there's, like, the last 2 issues.
Yeah.
Trying to decipher the ending. And like it's just not the best.
I mean, to say it's a modern classic is like disrespect. Like it'd just be like, I don't know.
Well, and when they were starting, I get it. Like, it was taking one of the main Superman books. For 12 issues, we're going to tell this story. It's going to have the Jim Lee art for 12 issues, and this one writer is going to do it, and it's going to be the story. And in that way, you know, it's supposed to be similar to Hush, which seems well and good enough. But, I mean, now that it's said and done, I can't believe that this is still one of the stories that they push as, like, one of the Superman greats.
Yeah, it probably just. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to, like, they don't want to admit it, so they're just gonna keep pushing it. I guess, like.
I guess. Here, okay. Let's see right now if we can try to name like the top 5 Superman stories that, you know, have to be better than this, right? Like.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Ones.
So
I don't know.
All-Star.
Okay, All-Star's a gimme.
Are we including single issue stories? Or are we just like one shots? Are we doing minis like story arcs?
Well, it has to be something they could sell, right? So I guess it would have to at least be a few issues.
Okay. Let's see.
Because yeah, one shots like What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way, but you can't.
Yep. Yeah. I would put Alan Moore's two-parter. That Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. And on the back end of that, you could throw in his other Superman story, which was like the one where the alien gets on him.
Yeah, Black Mercy, the Black Mercy story. Story.
I just read one that was really good. I'm not sure. Oh, now I have to find it. Shoot. It was a Superman Ending Battle. Is what it was called. It was playing off the What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way, and like Manchester Black starts targeting all of Clark Kent's beloveds.
Is it by Joe Kelly or is it some?
It's Joe Kelly, Jeff Johns, and Joe Casey.
Oh, okay.
And they coordinated it pretty well. There was only one major like plot jump that didn't get handled well.
And like I would think the Man of Steel, that John Byrne 6-issue mini, would be.
Oh yeah.
There. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Ending Battle. There's a whole bunch of Superman baddies. Like it runs the gauntlet, kind of like Hush does in a way.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna look for that.
yeah, I think it's out cheap in a lot of places now. So I don't know. We said All-Star. Oh, Red Sun.
Red Sun.
Yeah.
I would put Mark Waid's Superman Birthright.
Birthright. Oh, there's that reminds me of one. Where is it? Oh, Superman's Secret Identity.
Yes, yeah. By Kurt Busiek?
Yes.
Yes. That was I'll put that over it.
There we go.
There's already 5, like.
Yeah. Like, and yeah, it's funny to me that they keep probably. There had to have been something the New 52, right? That was worth one. I've been reading.
Not yet, man. Not yet.
Not yet. It's almost over now.
I know. I'm, to be honest, like, nothing right now. I would, because Scott Lobdell really took over for most of the Superman. I mean, you still already have Greg Pak. He's only been there on for a year, so I can't really.
I felt like that Greg Morrison Action Comics opening was really good, but it never like just came together as like one.
Yeah. I'm actually rereading that. Like I'm on like issue 6, so I'm still trying to get through that. So I mean, I don't know. Superman Tomorrow is one of those stories that it's all hype, but when you really get down to it, it's just kind of there, and I don't know, like, it's one of those things. I just won't be going back to it. It's not one of those stories I'll.
So my question for you is: you're the one who said we should read this. So
Yes,
What
yes.
prompted that?
Because I kind of wanted to see where you were at, and I really, you know, when you showed those books, I was like, I have it with me because I was
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
interested in rereading it again because I haven't read it since that like
Yeah,
years
the
ago.
initial time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I wanted to see, you know, collecting comics for a little bit and just kind of seeing how this story kind of held up for me.
Because you've been
And
reading regularly for years now, so it's probably a way different.
yeah, it's a way different experience, you know. It's because like you're exposed to so many different stories now. Like just the five that we mentioned, I've read them all and they're all fantastic. And just kind of comparing it now to this is just not even a question, and it's not a story I'd recommend anybody
Yeah.
going out and seeking to pick up. But yeah, um, yeah, I know, like I was kind of nervous. I was like trying to see like, are you gonna like this? And then when you said like I hate it, I was like, all right, let's go here, guys. Let's start
Yeah.
talking about it.
It, it's a funny one, like, because it's so. Because, I mean, it wasn't just hyped in its day, because it was. But, I mean, like, to this day, when they have, like, lists of Superman comics you need to read, it's on there. And
Hmm.
it's compared to Hush Continues, which is considered one of, the top Batman stories you need to read, which I think that's more warranted.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of Hush, but it has problems, but I mean, it's decent, it's there, and it goes through like, there's a lot to be said for it.
yeah.
Whereas this, like, the whole, like, it's weird because the first chunk of the story is, like, a million people are gone, and Superman's like, well, how do I fix this? But there's no, like, enemy. There's no, like, it's like this ethereal problem that's, like, this
Hmm.
philosophical thing, and there's no, like, they're trying to put punching to it. It just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like I don't know the dialogue between the priest and Superman. It didn't really. I didn't really believe like if I'm if I'm Superman, I'm having these kind of like inner inner thoughts, and I would talk to like the people that I know the most.
Or at the
Like I
very
would.
least, like some sort of apparition or like one of his bots in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Like,
Or Jor-El, or he has that little thing where like he can talk to his father. I guess I don't know if that's still there or not, but I mean
no,
just
at this point.
closer confidants like Superman and Batman. Like just you would kind of think that they would Justice League would be a better fit than a priest, but I know that that's kind of like the story. So because like
Kind of. But like if
kind
we bounced off of like the Green Lantern, I feel like it would have made more sense even. And that
yeah,
was the other weird thing is like this happened while he was out rescuing the Green Lantern. Then there was no like misplaced anger at the Green Lantern, even like slightly.
I know. It didn't even show any panels of him saving the Green Lantern. He's like, I'm stuck. I need help,
Yeah,
and then he goes straight back. And he's like, after I'm done with the Green Lantern, I go this way. I'm going back to Earth, and I'm just like, you couldn't like.
Kyle got stuck again. Like,
I mean, they tried to like they were writing like it was. I mean, it's a 12 issue arc. Like they
yeah,
have time to kind of flesh everything out, but it seems
yeah.
like they were just forced to, cut some of the scenes that that are somewhat important. Someone somewhat build some sort of story or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, Zero Year essentially did like 3 stories in that amount of time.
True, true. Like, I mean, going back to the priest, I guess. Like, I did. I mean, I understand. Like, I was thinking about it. I understand the parallel. Superman for tomorrow. Here's this priest who is kind of living for tomorrow with his condition that he has,
Oh yeah,
and we see that conversation with his, I guess, his girlfriend, I guess, in that beginning part,
yeah,
which was kind of weird. Like, it was kind of weird. Like,
yeah. It's like if you need him to be a priest, why does he have this girlfriend? What's going on?
I know. He's
You
like,
never
I
really.
already made. Like he said, he already made a mistake. He's like, I'm like, what the heck? And what's going on here?
Yeah, they never really fleshed that out.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of just there. And Superman, dealing with what he had to deal with with Lois and stuff like that, and just kind of building for a tomorrow because he did not want to lose the people that he wanted to save all these people. Like he said, like my sin is to save the world. So it's kind of like it was, he said that a lot throughout this whole story, and I was kind of like, the first time got to me. I was like, okay, my sin is to save the world. But he said like 3 other times, and I was kind of like, we get it, I understand. You don't need to keep repeating yourself. It was just one of those small things. I was just kind of, one of those the overtones of it, the blatant, religious stuff.
So we got a few comments that I want to try to field while we're here.
All right.
First off, at least the way it's coming through on my feed, is Travis asking, so there are no redeeming qualities to these books? I mean, if I was to push myself, I would argue that the Jim Lee art is really pretty if you treat it as, like, an art book. Just
yeah, if you like homages to different Superman covers, you'll see some of it here. Like, there was actually one panel where he is like a small panel too, and he did the homage to Action Comics 1, where you see a guy like the
God, really? I totally missed that.
I mean, I saw it. I was like, whoa, what the heck? That's like he has this like. I mean, this is one of the many examples of the.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that one I noticed definitely.
But. I mean, but like, it's all over the book, and I don't know, like.
Yeah.
Redeeming qualities. I'm not sure.
To follow that up, he said, Jim Lee and Arden, you hated it. Cool. I don't know what he means by that. But I mean, like, Jim Lee is a good artist, not a comic artist, like I said, so...
Yeah, Superman Unchained is another Jim Lee.
Then Carlos Infante had a few comments. First one being, hi, guys. So,
okay.
Let's see here. For Tomorrow ended being sort of a prelude to Infinite Crisis. What happened to the Priest was supposed to be a prototype to the Omax from Infinite Crisis. Okay. No. They never really...
I know.
Together. That's interesting. I said reading on a monthly basis was pretty difficult. Oh, man, you read it monthly. I wish we could add him on. I was there since day one, and it did receive certain media attention. Yeah, it was...
Okay.
Yeah, it was big at the time. So... Oh, well. There you go. The more knowledgeable man speaks up in the comments.
It was kind of, like, weird for me not to find anything about this. Like, no interviews, no... I mean, internet was, super prevalent back then. I would think that there would be some... sort of Jim Lee, Brian Azzarello interview about this book. It's just, I mean, other than what he said in the, like, is there anything that he described, like, this is what I wanted to bring, like?
He literally just talked about his, like, meet up with Jim Lee, and that was about it. There's no talk about, like, the story really at all. I'm sure somewhere out there there's something. The problem is like when you just Google this stuff, Google isn't good about coming up with it sometimes.
That's true.
Because a lot of it hasn't been tagged. Because my trademark for this trade is 2005, so this is probably like 2004. And at that time, like, the internet was big, but comic book the comic book sites weren't really there. Like, I think CBR was around, but it was a smaller thing.
Okay. Yeah.
There's obviously other sites, but I mean, were they the ones that we have around now? I don't think so. And
so, okay, after reading the story,
still being published.
Yeah. So after reading the story, how do you feel about? Has your opinion changed on Brian Azzarello, the writer? Like, just.
So I'm trying to remember what else I've read of his, because I mean, obviously the Wonder Woman run, and I read a little bit of 100 Bullets, and I liked it, but it was also a bit more crass, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
he's always hit me as a writer that, like, when he was going, he was good, and he's written some schlock and whatnot, but I kind of thought this would have been a little better coming into it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't there, so, I mean, I'm kind of wondering if this was just, like, an offbeat thing.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
don't know
like
if you've seen any interviews with him, but he doesn't seem like the guy to write Superman at all. He seems like the guy to write Lex Luthor. Wait, didn't he?
yeah. He
Who was
did.
that?
He actually, yeah, he did. I think he did. It was a miniseries, Luther. I think it was him and Lee Bergamo, I think, because I think I have it. I just don't know if it was Azzarello who wrote it. But
Internet was faster.
that miniseries was actually really good. Like, yeah, that's like one of my favorite miniseries. But yeah, like, I don't know. For me, for Azzarello, I'm just kind of indifferent now. Like, I haven't read any of his 100 Bullet stuff, or, I've read Wonder Woman. I mean, it's fantastic, but it kind of just like it's 1-to-1. So I'm kind of just indifferent with with Brian Azzarello right now. I mean, if he comes out with a new comic, I'm probably gonna pick it up. Just want to see what's going on, but.
So it looks like he did Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, not, I think, the one we were talking about.
So, who's the artist? Like,
Hold on, I was. Lee.
yeah, Bergamo. Yeah. That's the one.
Oh, so that's what
Man
you
of
were thinking
Steel.
of. I was thinking of something else.
Oh, are you talking about? I think I know what you're talking about. Like, I have it in my head where it's like has Luther, like the cover has Luther, and then he's like in a picture or whatever. He's bald. I don't know. Like that's yeah. Well,
As opposed to when he has hair in the 90s.
yeah.
Oh no, that was Brian Azzarello too. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe they just renamed it later? Because, yeah, these are the same guys.
Okay. Confusing.
Yeah, no, it's Luthor Man of Steel. It's just every time I've seen the cover it's just Luthor, so that was throwing me off. Yeah, which was alright. But yeah, he seems more like on that end of things, I guess, than writing Superman, because he's... Every time I've seen him in an interview, he seems like he's smart and knowledgeable and talking about stuff, but also just kind of grumpy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there. Like, I know what you're talking about. He's just like, can we just get this over with?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any more comments or anything? Or
I will reload and
Alright.
see what we got. I doubt it, though. Yeah, so, yeah, that was about it for comments. Did you have any final thoughts? Because I'm...
I mean, I've already said all I can say about it.
This is a hard comic to dig into because it's so kind of incomprehensible and, like, the plot's all in, like, 2 issues, and it's not like... It's not like digging into some other things, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what's there is there, but it's not really something, you can grab onto, or nothing you really, the character development here, I mean, other than Superman, everyone else is kind of, falls to the wayside, except, I mean, the priest too, but it kind of just, he kind of fell towards, like, the end of the story.
Yeah.
And just was a forgotten note, I guess, so. Yep. One of those rare Superman stories I do not recommend. So.
Yeah, no, but we came up with that list earlier, so there's... Because I did want to do that, like, after reading this, I was like, I want to read some good Superman, so I'm not, like...
There you go! If there's some... something to take away, it makes you want to read better Superman stories. And there's some out there. So.
Yeah, there definitely is. So, yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps it up this time.
All
so,
right.
Thank you for dealing with the coordination issues and
no problem. It's cool talking.
And I'd love to have you back if you think of another book.
Yeah.
You know, and that extends to anyone who's watching this, current or later. Hit me up with a book and at least an initial pitch for a time, because that's always an issue. And I'll try to set something up so we can talk books. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
All right.
All right, see y'all, everybody.
Bye.